Hello everybody, this is Old Soldier. So you're into emergency preparedness and have EDC at a go bag, but you're getting on a plane and you can't take all that stuff. And if you take some of that stuff, it's got to be in a check bag. What do you do? Hey, let's talk about it. This is Old Soldier's episode on items I take when I am flying and can't necessarily carry everything that I usually carry. So this episode is going to be a bit of a hybrid. Some of these are items that are just plain useful in any setting, and some that are pretty useful on vacation. And some of these are items that are not. It's not necessarily here or there, but I've talked about them before, and they've worked pretty well in this trip. But let's get into it step by step. So I just got back from vacation. I'm going to share my views and opinions and what worked for me, what didn't work for me, and what I forgot and probably could do better next time. And before we get into it, I'm going to talk about what I didn't bring. I can legally carry a firearm where I'm from. I can no longer fly armed. So, and I could, put a firearm in check bagging, but it really wasn't appropriate at this time. Or it wasn't appropriate for this occasion. First, let's talk about knives. So obviously this is in check bags. This is my Benchmade 970. I've had this for years. This is part of my EDC for years, and I chose to take along on this trip. And once I landed, this was in my pocket every day when I wasn't at the beach. And it got used for countless tasks. There was always things that needed being cut. It got borrowed multiple times, and I was asked to use it multiple times. So good selection to have some sort of knife. And as you'll see, I took several. Next up, Swiss Army knife. Took this and was in my pocket a few days, and it got used quite a bit. People needed it for different things. I used it for different things and some of the other functions on it. The scissors especially, and the screwdriver blade got used. Handy thing, and these are my favorite multi-tool. So this came along once again. Kept it in check baggage both ways, but at least when I got there, I had it. Leatherman tool. Yes, I brought it along, and this got used. Me and another family member, we had an appliance that wasn't working. We worked on it. Did we use it to work on the appliance? Yes, we did. Did we successfully repair the appliance? No, we didn't. But, these are handy things. This got used more than once, and I was glad that I had it and brought it along. Now, I did bring a sheath knife. I brought a Moore knife, and I didn't know. We stayed at a rental home and close proximity to a beach. I didn't know whether we were going to have a fire of some sort. We didn't. And since I couldn't pack a hatchet, I thought maybe I might have to baton wood. And I didn't have to. But let me tell you something. This was, once again, in check baggage as well. And there's a time and a place for a sheath knife. And this thing was like under $10. And it's a good thrasher knife, and if it gets lost somehow, I am not crying. So yeah, threw this in the check bag. Didn't use it one time, but better to have and not need than to need and not have and get your cake left out in the rain. Flashlights, it's been my experience. They're needed in everyday life. And we used them a couple times. A couple of people that I were with got fishing license. We had a couple kids, and a couple of adults got fishing license. And they did some saltwater fishing, and there was some crabbing going on. They needed flashlights, and that's a useful thing. There was other things at night we needed them. I took two. I used this in a short. This is a nightstick, and I like this because it runs on one AA battery. And here's the good news. I remembered and I brought 2 extra spare batteries. That's a good thing. This all went on my in my check bag. And one thing, I do not like to fly with lithium batteries in a baggage. I mean, they're a controlled item. They have to be properly packaged. And fires in cargo holds of aircraft are a bad thing. And so I just avoid it. So I took alkaline flashlights this time. And this is pretty standard. This is rugged, one AA battery, and worked great. Here's the downside. I did bring a cheap Costco flashlight as well. However, the batteries were almost out on it, and I forgot spares. Now, somebody else did have some, so yay for them. But just a lesson learned. But same thing. it's not a bad idea to bring a cheap Thrasher flashlight. And I brought it. Luckily, somebody else there had batteries, and both these flashlights got used. So cordage, yeah, I brought the ubiquitous 550 cord paracord. Didn't really use it. I was playing with two of my little nephews, and we used some of it then. Non-essential use, but I had it. And I highly recommend. You just never know. Might need it. It's one of the 5 C's. Cordage, as well as we just talked about knives, cutting. It's better to have it and not need it. Here's the carry-on that I use and frequently use, and it is an old Eagle 3-day assault pack. I've used the heck out of this thing. It still stands up great. I told you I like the old Eagle Industries stuff. I went over this episode in one of my previous episodes that highlighted all my backpacks. This has served me well. Some people say, hey, don't use a military-style backpack. By no means do you have to, but I have this. This thing is worn, and one thing I do recommend is that you do carry if you carry a carry-on or carry some sort of backpack, because you never know, you may be reduced, and it might not be someplace where you might have to consolidate your gear and move on foot. If there was an emergency that would arose, you might get separated from your main bag, your baggage, the rest of your baggage. You might have to consolidate in just what you can carry on your back and have some sort of a light backpack. And this thing has seen hard use and stood up well. By no means do you have to get something military style. There's plenty of good brands out there. Some people will say, hey, that targets you. Maybe so. Personally, I've got other things to worry about. By the number of air travelers that I saw, I'm in good company because there's a lot of veterans using them on carry-ons and planes. And that's been my experience. But this is what I used, and it works great. Nalgene bottles, one of the world's best items, in my opinion. Heavy use drinking bottle, wide mouth, so you can put ice and mix it up in there. I took 2 on this trip. I carried 1 on my carry-on in a Maxpedition carrier attached to my carry-on, and obviously I can't be filled before you get on the aircraft, but I made sure I filled, so I had water on the flight. And then I had another one empty in my checked baggage, and this got used a lot. Fill it full of ice or put in the cooler, and you have a reusable plastic container for drinking water. This needs to be washed. And I don't know where the other one is. I set it down someplace. It's probably in the dishwasher right now. But this one I bought from REI. Hey, you don't have to buy them from REI, wherever you get them. Man, I have any number of these things, and whenever I go on a trip, there's usually at least a couple with me, especially when I'm flying. Lighter, fire. Had to go and check bag. I had more than one. This is just one. Didn't take the Zippo. Took a Bic this time because traveling stuff happens. But yeah, have a lighter or 2 in your check bags, and you have some way to make fire. Once again, to see combustion. In my carry-on, I always carry just a very small hygiene kit because if I get separated from my bag or luggage get lost, I can at least wash my hands, wash my face, and brush my teeth. Personal water filter. This is a Life Straw. There's all kinds of them out there. I have several and several different manufacturers. So if people say, hey man, it's not a Sawyer or one other type. I travel domestically. This would be good in the United States, probably most places in North America. It's better than nothing. And didn't use it one time, but I had it if I needed it. Mylar survival blankets, million uses. This one's a little prepackaged. I bought these in a 10-pack. I always keep this in my carry-on and didn't use it, but I had it if I needed it. Handy, cheap, lightweight item. Pair of earplugs. Don't always use them, but I keep a couple pair in my carry-on. And you never know when you might be seated next to somebody who snores or plays their music you don't want to hear too loudly. So I always carry a pair when I travel. Couple pens. Pad's not a bad idea, but I can usually find something to write on if I need it. But couple pens when I'm flying obviously make life easier. Hey, you got to look cool, right? And also got to protect your eyes, and then you got to protect what protects your eyes. So these are Oakley's. There's plenty of good brands out there. I like these. Oakley, I've had several different pair and several different models. They work for me. They're great eye protection and fit well, stand up well. And when I travel, but there's going to be times where you don't want to have them on. You don't want them in your pocket. You don't want to have them on your hat. So when I travel, I put the case in my carry-on, and these pair has really added to their longevity. So sunglasses, got to look cool, got to protect your eyes, and you got to protect what protects your eyes. Ball cap, essential item for me when I'm traveling. I've got a bald spot. and something to keep the sun off my eyes. Some sort of hat. See people that wear bush hat or a boonie hat style on the beach. Not a bad idea. Protect the back of your neck. Protect it from the sun. And an essential item. I like to carry a little roll of tape, whatever it may be. This is electrical tape. Lightweight. Costs nothing. This went in the check bag. Really not an essential for travel, but this was a beach vacation, and these were essential for a beach vacation. And these have been on 2 of my episodes. I just did the 1-year review, and these stood up very well to the beach and walking on sand and wearing them in the ocean. I could swim in them. These are the Teva Flintwoods, and they've been in 2 of my episodes. I really like these. And for the price point, I like Keen Water shoes, the Newports, and the Newport H2s. But these are what I replaced my Keen Water shoes with, and these stand up very well, and for the price point, I think they're a nice product. The Wooby or poncho liner. Some of you may not have seen the little short I did. We had a canopy out there where we were out. The sun was brutal, and it's not a life-saving device, but I did use it to block the sun on the side of the sun canopy, so we could get more shade, and we had a bunch of people, and it made it more comfortable. And, this got used several times. Once again, this can lightweight. This thing has been beat to heck. I have several of these over the years, and they're lightweight, and they provide a lot of insulating. I use them to protect us from the sun because they have, attachings, little tie downs that you can use. It worked great. It really did, but it also, there's a couple people in the cold mornings or the cooler mornings, they were curled up and watching TV. So, for what it is and what it costs, great piece of gear. Just one comment too I'd like to add. I hear again and again from people in the preparedness community, I don't like to go on vacation because I'm away from my preparations. Okay, I'm all about emergency preparation and looking for life's unexpected bumps and maybe some pretty catastrophic ones, but you have to live your life. And I am just not ready to hole up into a bunker just yet, although some days it sure feels like it. So live your life, and that's kind of the intent of this episode is, live your life, go on vacation, take some items with you to help prevent emergencies or help deal with emergencies should they arise, but live your life. What else should I have brought in that I didn't? Well, I mentioned I should have brought spare AAA batteries for my cheap Thrasher flashlight. Didn't bring a trauma kit. Usually throw one in my checked baggage. Didn't do it this time, or even put it on a small one, a cut down one on your carry kit with maybe a chest seal, some gauze, and a tourniquet. Forgot to bring it this time. Now I can make a lot of field expedient stuff, but that was one gap. And I brought a few snacks, but I usually bring a little bit more substantial, some things to eat should an emergency arise, both in my carry-on bag and checked baggage. Those are things, nobody's perfect, but those are things that I kind of overlooked this trip and something to keep in mind for my next trip. And finally, a beach vacation. I've done a previous episode on watches I like, or tactical watches, or Old Soldier's tactical watches. This is a Seiko I wore it for many years. There's some places when I'm traveling and I'm not familiar with it, if I am not carrying a firearm, I do not wear my Rolex. And this is still a quality watch, and it's a dive watch. Another thing for a beach vacation, there were always people asking me, because they didn't have their phones, what time it was. So it's good to have something that you can wear in the water. And, little wrist cup, little button compass. It's useful. Should push comes to shove and there's some sort of emergency, you have a compass you can navigate with. Good general bearing. Anyway, this is Old Soldier. These are preparedness items I take when I'm flying and can't really take my EDC or maybe my go bag. Anyway, that's it for this week. This is Old Soldier out.